My shop is very unique. We do things differently here. For us, it's all about making them as stylish and beautiful as they can be. On Channel 33, Saturday nights at 10 o'clock, it was Saturday Fright at the Movies with your host, Count Cool Rider, a vampire that loved the king, that loved Elvis.
When Counting Cars first arrived on the History Channel in 2012, it felt like something fresh and exciting. Danny, the Count, Koker had already made small appearances on Pawn Stars, but nobody expected him to become one of the biggest faces on the network. The show pulled in millions of viewers right from the first episode, and people were attracted to Danny's passion for old cars, his deep knowledge of Las Vegas culture, and the fun energy inside his shop, Count's Customs. For many fans, the show wasn't just about fixing or buying cars. It was about watching creativity, teamwork, and genuine excitement unfold on screen. At its peak, Counting Cars reached more than 4 million viewers, making it one of the most successful automotive shows on television. But while the outside world saw bright lights and shiny builds, the truth behind the scenes was very different. Over time, the show began slipping, and problems started popping up quietly inside the shop. Problems that would slowly break apart the trust between the team, their customers, and eventually, their audience. What makes the story sad is not just the fall of a famous show, but the way it happened little by little. From lawsuits and financial mistakes to employee theft, IRS audits, and even stage moments on the show, everything added up in a way that viewers never saw until it was too late. The story of Counting Cars is not simply about a TV show losing popularity. It is about how a combination of bad choices, poor leadership, and behind-the-scenes chaos pushed one of television's most loved car shows into irrelevance. And understanding this fall means going back to where everything began, when Danny first stood in the Pawn Stars shop with a rare Barracuda and unknowingly started a journey that would bring him both massive success and later, painful consequences. Danny Koker's rise started with a single moment, a simple visit to Pawn Stars in 2010, where he came to show them a 1971 Plymouth Barracuda. Rick Harrison expected a normal negotiation, but when Danny spoke about the car, everything changed. His voice carried passion, history, and real love for every detail. The History Channel executives watching behind the scenes saw something special, a man who didn't just like cars but lived and breathed them. This moment sparked the idea of giving Danny his own show. What made Danny so interesting was his real story. He grew up around cars because his father worked for Ford, and he learned restoration work at only 9 years old. By the time he moved to Las Vegas, he already dreamed of building a shop where old cars could be brought back to life. When producers saw Count's Customs, a shop filled with more than 200 cars, they knew they had something perfect for television. The early idea for Counting Cars was simple and honest: real cars, real work, real passion. The network loved that Danny didn't need fake sets or staged garages. Everything was already there, naturally exciting. When they filmed the pilot in 2011, audiences loved it, and the ratings were even higher than Pawn Stars at the time. Soon, Danny's team, Mark, Horny Mike, Ryan, Kevin, and Scott, became familiar faces on TV. The show was full of creativity and personality. Each member brought something unique: Mark's paint skills, Mike's wild designs, Ryan's clean interiors, and Kevin's metalwork. Count's Customs felt alive. The early seasons of the show kept growing. Fans loved Danny's impulsive street buys, dramatic reveals, and the mix of Vegas style with classic cars. But while it looked like everything was perfect, the first cracks were already forming behind the scenes, cracks that would eventually break the show apart. The first major problem that pushed Counting Cars toward trouble came in 2013, with a huge lawsuit involving a couple named Paul and Jeanette Hers. They had paid the shop $50,000 for a full restoration of their 1967 Mustang Shelby GT500, and they were told the build would appear on the show. But when they visited the shop months later, they were shocked. The car wasn't even the right year, it didn't match the promised details, and much of the work was incomplete or wrong. The couple asked for answers, but the shop manager at the time, Scott Jones, denied them a refund and claimed they had verbally agreed to changes. However, when the Hearst couple checked their records, they found zero proof of any changes. The situation quickly turned into a full legal fight, revealing more serious issues inside the shop. Court documents showed that at least 12 other customers had suffered delays, unfinished work, or broken promises. This wasn't just one unhappy customer, it was a pattern. The case damaged the show's public image, especially because fans believed Count's Customs was built on honesty and craftsmanship. When the court ordered the shop to pay a $30,000 refund, it confirmed that something was wrong behind the scenes. Even after the settlement, the internet backlash didn't stop. Negative reviews began pouring in on Yelp and other platforms, many from customers who shared similar experiences. Some called the shop a TV scam, claiming the show's fame was being used to take advantage of people. Their rating dropped sharply, and fans started questioning whether the shop's TV image matched reality. At the same time, more problems were forming internally. Employees complained about mismanagement, delays, financial confusion, and leadership issues. The Hearst case didn't happen in isolation. It was the first major sign of deeper organizational problems. And soon, these problems would grow much bigger when the IRS began to get involved. In 2015, the IRS opened an audit of Count's Customs after receiving a tip that payroll taxes were missing. What they discovered showed that the earlier customer problems were only part of the bigger picture. Records revealed that more than $18,000 in payroll taxes from late 2014 had vanished. As investigators looked deeper, they found that Scott Jones, the same manager involved in the Hearst lawsuit, had used company funds for personal spending. He had charged hotel stays, travel expenses, and even entertainment to the shop's accounts, claiming false reimbursements. Danny had to pay over $21,000 in penalties and interest himself. The audit shook the entire shop. Workers grew frustrated, trust collapsed, and Danny fired multiple accountants. But the damage was already spreading. Right after the audit, the shop froze payroll for 3 weeks, leaving employees unpaid. Angry and stressed, several painters walked out and spray-painted the shop doors with the message, "Pay U.S. Count." The incident made local news and forced Danny to publicly promise better oversight. Though the employees eventually received their paychecks, many quit soon after, feeling betrayed and uncertain about the shop's future. What made things even worse was that Scott Jones returned to the shop months later, claiming he wanted to fix his mistakes. But in 2017, another investigation found he had continued submitting false overtime claims and telling staff to alter timesheets. This led to his permanent removal and another IRS flag on the business. These repeated financial scandals labeled the shop high risk, making every future audit stricter and more expensive. Insurance premiums went up by nearly 40%, budgets tightened, and the show's production became harder to manage. The financial pressure was enormous, and the chain of problems made it difficult for the team to keep working smoothly. By this point, the shop wasn't just dealing with one issue, it was drowning in a long pattern of mismanagement and bad decisions. And just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse, another major fraud case appeared, adding even more damage to the shop's reputation. In 2018, Count's Customs faced another shocking blow when an accountant named Joseph Frontier committed a large-scale fraud inside the shop. He secretly forged Danny Koker's signature and authorized over $75,000 in fake checks for his personal use. Frontier spent the money on moving to Florida, paying for luxury items, and even putting down $12,000 for a Range Rover. To make the fraud look real, he